All right, guys, welcome back. This is week 8 of weekly coaching. We're still working on Legion Commander. So last week, the homework was playing faster, refining Legion Commander. Homework from the week before, which was creating opportunities for duels, comboing items and spells, identifying targets for duels and who threatens you during the duel, and being willing to trade to get duel damage, not being willing about or worried about feeding just to get the duel damage, right? And last week we also added on like who's our target and how do we like get the duel off. So don't forget, I stream every weekday on Twitch at MrUpTV, and there will be a playlist at the end of the video with all my coaching sessions, so check that out and enjoy the rest of the video. All right, y'all good?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the MMR this week?
We are at 1310.
1310. Okay, right around the same area then. Not a lot of movement.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't get a chance to play a lot of games, right?
No, I think I only got to play a little bit after our session and then today.
Okay. So in the few games you did get, let's see, how many was it? It was just like 4 games, right? Legion, Magnus, Ogre, Legion. Anything dramatically different than the stuff before, or what?
So that last game I played felt really fucking good. Like it felt like I connected a lot of the dots on the stuff that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of stuff into practice, and that got me like really early, a lot of early duel damage. So I think like by like 20 or so minutes, I already had like 130 damage or something.
Yeah, I was looking at it like later in the game, you had like 800 total damage or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Crazy. Okay, so that's good to hear. It's actually paying off. What were the issues this game though?
So it felt like one thing I made a note of that while I was doing a lot of things that we talked about, I literally wrote it down while I was dead from realizing it. I didn't do a good job of being like, okay, what are my best targets this game?
Okay.
Like some stuff is obvious, but then it's like I also have to think about it. You know what I mean? Like, because I jumped on, like, this game. I guess it's like a little bit different when you consider like, what are our targets when we can only kill a few people, and what are our targets when we can kill anybody? And I wasn't thinking like that, because that evolved as I got so much early duel damage. It became like, okay, whoever I jump on dies. So now it's not just about Ancient Apparition showed, I'm fucking him, you know?
Okay.
And I realized that as Jug was getting stronger, I was like, fuck. I probably could have jumped on Jug at any point when he showed himself in this game. And I still was able to do that to a point, but one of the big problems I ran into was he itemized really well against me. And I had to do a very, like, it basically, at one point, I think he gets Basher, and I'm like, okay, I can still kill him, but this makes it a lot more difficult. And then he got a, what is that called? The super damage item.
Oh, we got a rapier?
Yeah, he got a rapier.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I can kill him, but I absolutely have to get a full duration blade mail off.
Yeah. Okay. So you're getting like counter itemized a little bit in this one, and then a little bit of trouble with like once you were fed off dual damage, like actually realizing you could just kill anybody.
Yeah, and picking the right targets. I think I let Jug get way more than I should have.
Okay. Gotcha. Maybe let Jug get away with too much. So that's kind of just like the pregame notes on this one. So I guess we don't really have a lot of like weekly notes for this, because it's just kind of like just didn't get a lot of games in, right? So only 4 games. Okay, so we won't worry about that. Let's go into this real quick. So I'm noticing on the graph you guys were pretty much just freaking ahead for most of it.
Yeah.
So we'll just let this run real quick while we're looking. Do you think there are any key points to look at here? I mean, obviously, like these last few team fights are probably the most important. Looks like you guys were doing really well up until like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna ask what you thought of my starting items.
Let's have a look. So I would assume that I'm playing against AA Jug here, and then I've got a Veno support. I mean, they're fine. I don't think you need a stick in this lane. I don't think movement speed is like hyper important. But I think they're fine. Because the gauntlets let you go for Bracer or Soul Ring, and they help with last hitting. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. You don't need a Mango because there's no mana drain here. So I think they're good.
Yeah. As far as what you asked before, I don't remember too well what it might have been. I know I fucked up a couple times and died to Jug because I didn't realize those that he had gotten those items. So that might be a thing off the top. Is just like more consistent checking of items.
Sure, yeah, that's
like
always good.
Like if I'm gonna jump on somebody and I see them showing, check their items first.
The biggest thing I was noting, and I'll point it out a few times where I saw it, and I've noticed it in other games too, so I think the biggest issue you're having with LC is actually like getting the muscle memory down for that blink range. Because like sometimes you like press the attack and blade mail and you BKB and then you blink and you have to walk like for a few seconds and then duel, so it's like it's not quite like crisp enough.
Yeah.
So that I think right away that's going to be like a big thing, and I'll point it out in a few places. Okay, but we'll go through, unless there's any questions about the lane phase, we'll just kind of speed through
I was gonna say, like, you could see that I went for the different level build. Or,
yeah, you started E here.
Yeah,
I see that.
And that
down a bit.
That worked really well for this lane.
That's good. Yeah, I mean the pressy attack's kind of helpful against AA, but not, you know, it's not critical. Went for a full there. It's good. And I like that you went boots super early, because I mean you are against like Jug AA, like it's you do want movement speed. You probably don't need it like level 1, right?
Right.
I think one thing though is you might be able to get away with cutting this Bracer. Because this item is just not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about it, like a lot of these items, like Bracer, Wraithband, Null Talisman, the main purpose of them really is to help you in lane like last hit.
Right, and I was already kind of winning in the lane.
Yeah, so
and I wasn't getting super harassed.
Yeah, so the time that I would go for these as a core is if I feel like I need to be in lane, but I'm having trouble like getting my last hits contested a lot. Like it's a very contested lane, but I have to be here. And then the times that I skip it is like this lane is dog shit for me and I want to leave it ASAP. Like I'm not buying any Wraithbands or Bracers or anything, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a curve. At the one end, it's not you don't need it because you're winning. At the other end, you don't need it because you're losing so bad.
You're losing so hard. Yeah, exactly. And plus, just Bracer is just like not great anymore. Like I think it can be okay, but it's I don't know. The regen on it is just not very nice. Like if you just don't upgrade this, then that gives you the option to like get an earlier Blade Mail or get an earlier Soul Ring or something like that instead. Unless it's super contested. Yeah, or I mean, I don't know if it goes into that, but let me see.
Oh, you're talking
just
about
off the gauntlets.
Yeah. True.
Or you just don't buy anything off of it and you just sell the gauntlets later, you know?
Yeah.
That can be okay. Because I think Legion's damage is so freaking high anyway that you should be okay against Jug. Like Jug has, what, 50 starting damage or something?
Yeah.
So shouldn't be a priority. But this all looks good so far. I mean, you're keeping your health up. Let me check last hits real quick. You're kicking his ass in last hits. So your laning is pretty much solid usually.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel very confident in my laning phase.
That's good. Nice. There you go. So the when we get to it, we can talk more about it, but I just wanted to mention, like, yeah, so you're noticing that when people buy like a Lincoln's, it really screws you up with Legion, right?
Yeah.
So we might want to brainstorm some items that are really good for Legion to counteract that.
Yeah, probably the most obvious being Halberd.
Yeah, I was gonna say Halberd would be really good. And it actually has a double purpose in that case, because once the Jug does get the Rapier, and it's kind of actually dangerous for you to duel him, like, if someone else can pop the Lincolns and then you can duel, and you Halberd him, then you don't have to worry about that. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you can guarantee a duel on him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing with stuff like that is I feel like that works very well hypothetically, but in low rank it's so hard to or stuff like that. But
absolutely,
it is the correct thing.
Yeah. Or an Orchid. Orchid would be good too.
Yeah.
And then eventually Bloodthorn. But it's rough. I mean, that's just something Legion struggles with. She just struggles with Lincolns in general, because there aren't a lot of good targeted items for her. Like, what are you gonna buy, a fucking 4-staff or something? Like, no.
Yeah. Another thing to note that I kind of switched up my mindset on is, like, it might sound like silly, but trying to just like change the way I view my teammates. Like,
okay.
Instead of, like, even if it's true, like, it's not at all obviously helpful to just like think of them as like obstacles.
Yeah.
I'm trying now to just like not even like necessarily view them as like, you know, oh, this guy's gonna be smart enough to do this. I'm just trying to view them as like an asset. So it's like, if this dude is an idiot and he's not going to like come with me for an obvious duel, or he's buying some stupid item, how can he be an asset?
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
I really like that thinking.
Yeah, like, instead of just getting annoyed because they're not doing the right thing, it's like, at the end of the day, they are an asset. Like, that's what the game is. You know, it's not a 1v1 game. I want to use my teammates to get an unfair advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that thinking. And I actually, you know, I've never really thought of it like in those terms before.
Yeah.
But it's true, right? Like, even if a teammate's useless, like, well, they must be a little bit of use to me, right? Like, what can I get, right? So I really like that thinking there. That's good. Yeah, man. If you can maintain that attitude, like, it'll help you so much in climbing. Like, climbing is a lot, like, it's a lot of just knowing, like, okay, what am I supposed to do? How well do I know my hero? How good am I mechanically? And then, like, staying positive. Staying positive is, like, seriously, like, where I'm at now, it's like 50% of the reason we win or lose.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how important it is to, like, not tilt, you know?
No, that's definitely something I'm still working on, because it can be fucking hard. Like, especially this game, like, the Ursa, like, at one point just gets really fucking toxic. He's, like, talking about, like, I think he walks into their triangle and dies and is like, "What? Where was my team?" If you guys don't follow me, I'm AFKing. Like, I'm like, dude, please, like, we have a good game here. Like, we lost a couple fights, but like overall, we are ahead. Like, just relax and stay positive.
Oh, that's good. Did he chill out after that or no?
Not really.
Okay, well, you tried.
Not really.
That's the best you can do, right? One thing I am noticing immediately is you're doing a lot better at keeping up the farm.
Yeah.
And pretty much, I don't think a duel you've done has failed yet. Like, every single duel has resulted in a kill, and it's been on critical targets too. Like, you're dueling like Weaver and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's already like a big improvement.
For sure.
Like,
yeah,
you're at 148 last hits right now. Like, you're beating the Jug, which is crazy, you know? So that's good too. I like to see that. And coming up, because you guys had like an 18k lead there, so I think this is where you guys are going to start throwing, maybe. But we'll see.
Oh, this one was so painful, dude. The creeps blocked me.
Yeah, it sucks.
I was like, oh.
It's unfortunate. Not much you can do about that. Yeah, so far I'm not noticing any, like, major screw-ups or anything, you know? So like that might be the first one. I think I saw this earlier. So yeah, no, this is where I started watching live. So so first off, this push to begin with might actually just be a little bit too early.
Yeah.
Let's see, Fogbow teams. I don't know if lead or does anybody have a? Did you guys already do Roche? Can't find it.
I don't think so.
Okay. So I wouldn't. This is a rule. Like if you can get it, you know, don't let your team go high ground without Roche.
Yeah.
Even though you guys are massively ahead here, because it's just really
yeah.
tough.
Yeah, I think this was one of those situations where my dude was like, "Let's push, let's push."
Yeah, and you kind of like have to. Yeah. Okay.
But it also didn't feel horrible because we are so strong.
Oh right, that's that one. So this when you go for this duel here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a little bit out.
Yeah.
But those ones, so if you can hit those, that might make the difference between getting racks or not.
Yeah.
This one, while you do get the duel here, this is kind of a bait. So you have to be really careful, like when your team is in full retreat mode here, and they haven't lost anything, right? So they're pretty much full strength.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have a pretty solid escape plan.
Yeah. Honestly, that torrent kind of fucked us.
Yeah.
That I didn't expect because I knew he had used his ult. And it passed us, so I thought we were fine. But yeah, no, for sure. It's still like even just jumping on him, like his team's right behind him. If we don't instantly kill him and get out of there, then it's bad.
It's tough. Exactly so I think if BKB had been available,
yeah,
no,
this
would be fine, right?
I probably should have thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good to do things like this with BKB, but if you don't have it, you got to be super careful because then you are just trading. And you're kind of at the point now, like you have enough duel damage, so we don't need to trade to get duels anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they do actually have like a decent amount of crowd control with all that stuff. So that's okay. So I think, so there's, I guess, 3 takeaways here. So first off, it's too early to do this, but that's not necessarily your fault. And the second one is like when you do blink in and not make the duel, that can actually have a pretty big impact. And then just the only engaging if BKB is actually available in this situation.
Yeah,
that's the 3 main things. Because this is pretty much the point where you guys start losing. It's this high ground push.
Yeah.
I mean, not just like straight losing, but the game evens out a little bit here.
For sure.
Also, it's interesting that an Ursa would insist on going high ground. It's like, you're literally Ursa. Like, why don't you want to Roche? What are you, my guy? So, and then that's the other thing, right? So if you know, like, we're really far ahead and we shouldn't do this push, like, if you can just tell your team, like, this push is silly, we don't need to do this. And if you can get any of your team to not go, like even if it's just like one other hero just is like, yeah, I'm not going either, and then you don't go, then it's not a disaster. So like if the Ursa and the Veno and let's say, I don't know, the Skywrath walk up and die, and it's just you and Shadow Shaman left, like that's enough for you guys to shut down any counterplay that they have. Like you can cut waves, you can defend towers, you know, whatever. You're enough of a threat where they don't get to just run down a lane. So just because some of your team commits to it doesn't mean you have to, because we're not quite in the area of like any death results in the game being over. It's not quite late enough in the game yet. So in these instances, like it's okay to just let people die. Just let them do the stupid push, right? And just don't participate in it. And that's actually a multi-level thing. Like, not only are you increasing your chances of you're reducing your chances of just throwing the game, right? But you're also, by not going, you help to show that it's a bad idea. Because if they're pushing and they're like, oh, our team's not here, like they might just make the decision to leave on their own, right? But that can be important. Because your team is just really like dead set on getting this, which is unfortunate. I mean, you guys get it. Another thing that I didn't quite like that I saw was the dataless pickup.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, it was a weird point where I was like so in the game and I felt kind of pressure to figure out, okay, what's my next item? And I was like, well, you know, maybe if I have even more damage, I can kill sooner and then jump on somebody else. The logic wasn't great. I was fucking damage pilled.
Yeah. It's the same reason I don't really like phase boots on Legion. I mean, they're not strictly terrible, but like I prefer to just buy attack speed, right?
Right.
Or like, you know, like any hero that has attack speed naturally, then you just buy the phase boots, right? You know, but anyway.
Yeah, you're already naturally building up damage.
Exactly.
You need to, the harder you hit, the more damage you're gonna do. Or not the harder you hit, the faster you hit.
Right, exactly. And so like items that would have been nicer here, definitely, I mean, even ignoring Lincoln's, right? Because he doesn't have a Lincoln's yet. Orchid still would have been good here for both Jug and Weaver. I mean, Jug does have a Manta, but then you are forcing him to time that well. He has to save Manta for when you Orchid him, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it's just good against Weaver anyway. So Orchid would have been, I think, preferred over this. Or just tanky items, just going for like your Heart or your Assault Cuirass or going for a Halberd or something like that.
Yeah.
Next, that would have been good. Or Basher, because I don't think of Basher as a damage item. Even though it does give damage, sure. I don't really think of it that way. So
that's one of those things I thought about, because it's like he eventually got a Basher, and I was like, well, should I have gotten one earlier just to lock him down? I don't know.
I think it's quite good, especially you can go up into Abyssal. Like Abyssal's like one of the best items in the game, you know, if you're already doing well.
Yeah.
We'll try and keep this session like shorter as well. I don't want to do a full hour.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Oh my God, he's going Roche finally.
Yeah.
Fucking Pog. Yeah, leave the shard in there. Great. Awesome. So you guys were having a lot of trouble closing this out, right? So I noticed at one point you got top and bottom racks down, and you just couldn't push this in.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, well, in this situation where you are right now, like, what should your team's next step be? What's the next move we're making here?
I think we push out bottom. We take the outpost.
Well, you have it already.
Oh, we have the outpost. Never mind. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm viewing it the wrong way.
You're good.
I think we just try and kind of like suffocate them as much as possible. Like, kind of just play. It's only 30 minutes. Just kind of play it slow. Farm up, and then maybe like smoke in or something like that.
Yeah. So I would say in light of the suffocation thing, right? Like I agree with that. Like in this stage of the game, like it's really like you knock down all their outer towers, you contain them, and then you wait for Roche, you take Roche, and then you try for a high ground. Like that's basically the formula every single time, right? So your next objective is this wave. I mean, someone needs to get this wave, and then you take this tower. And if you're
because I was viewing it the wrong way. Yeah, I was seeing the red and thinking it was enemy.
Oh, gotcha.
So I should have pushed. Yeah, it should have been top.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So if you're making a smoke, it's going to be to get here faster or to go into their triangle.
Yeah.
To establish vision and lock this area of the map out, right? But it needs to be a combined thing. It's like we get this wave pushed, we take this tower, this wave is pushed, we have this already. We have the ward here. Like, this is all great. Like, you don't need to worry about this area of the map anymore unless there's a good pick off here. Like, if the Jug walks up here, like, sure, go down and kill him. But otherwise, like, we don't care about this at all now. It's just this. This is it. Yeah. And then once he has Aegis, now it doesn't matter so much anymore, but this would be the next location to take.
Yeah.
Because this is fairly well secure. The only way they're getting this back is if they smoke in and deward this, right? So this should be the next thing you're thinking about. This tower and the triangle.
Invisibility.
You guys are doing that. That's good.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is falling.
But that's important. Thinking about that, regardless of what role you are, just thinking about like what's our next objective, and thinking about that all the time, right?
Yeah.
That one was unfortunate. What happened there? Let's see.
So that was one of those moments where I was like, I jumped on AA and got him, but like, is that worth it? Like, I could have jumped on Jug and maybe we would have like won.
I would say at this phase of the game, I would not be trading to kill a support, but it is totally fine to pick off the supports first with duel. That's fine.
It was a thing that felt like it's not bad, but that was like, I die here and then I make that note because I'm like, what if I had gotten Weaver or what if I gotten Jug? Like, would that have been way fucking better?
Yeah. So the only time I think it's the main thing that's going to decide that is like how much impact does this hero have in the fight, right? So an AA, like at this phase of the game, you don't have to be terribly scared of an AA anymore because you got BKBs on these two guys. This guy's got a Glimmer. You have tools to now deal with the AA. Like you have Force Staff, you have a Purge, you have BKBs, you have all this stuff, right? So he's actually not high threat anymore, given that.
Right.
The high threat one, I think, is going to be just the people that do a ton of damage or the people that actually have like a ton of disruption. So it's kind of like Kunkka or Jug, because I think the Weaver is not actually... Weaver's not a great target for you because he has a Lincolns, and he actually doesn't do that much damage anyway.
Yeah.
Gyro does a ton of damage. But what I was going to say is where it can be worth it to trade out for support like that is if the support is like their main team fight. Like if it's like a Winter Wyvern or a Warlock, or it's like an Enigma or something like that. Like then if you like dive in, kill that big team fight ult, you know, like that can be worth it.
Yeah, I think I was just literally thinking somebody needs to die. Here he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you do need to think of it in terms of like I understand that you think you get it. I'm just saying like one way to think of it is like you are trading for AA. So like
no, absolutely.
If AA is the reason they're winning the team fights, that's okay. I think here though, you don't actually have to be terribly scared of it.
Yeah, I think it's literally just shifting the mindset of like at this point in the game, like you're not looking. If you're looking just to get damage off of Legion, then you know the game is pretty fucked up. Like at this late in the game, it should be okay. Who do I want to get rid of?
Yeah, it needs to be like more. What's the knockout blow? Like what secures the entire team fight, or what secures the next tower if we kill this guy, right?
Yeah.
But that, I mean, that thinking is kind of prevalent throughout the entire game, regardless of the hero you're playing, right? So if you think about it early, you might smoke and you might be happy that you killed the Crystal Maiden who's under leveled, doesn't have boots yet, because you're like, yeah, we smoked and got a kill, right? But then later in the game, you smoke and you find the support and you're like, damn, that was kind of a waste of a smoke because we didn't get any real target, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of with everybody. It's just, I think it's more of a thing on Legion because Legion does have this delete button that other heroes don't really have, right?
Yeah, that's like, you know, the whole strength is to be able to grab like heroes that are normally like very tricky, you know? It's like if you have an AM and a Crystal Maiden, yeah, it's cool you're getting damage off the Crystal Maiden, but if the AM is just getting to farm, you're kind of like missing the point.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been nicer to get the high priority thing. And that's, I mean, throughout the entire game, that can be the case, right? Like, it's always better to kill AM in theory, right? But
Right.
you'd be happy with other things early and not so much later.
Yeah.
So then, in light of that, so thinking about all of that, so how should you have played this differently? Because this is another, like, high ground throw, right?
Yeah.
So you need a few things for this push to work. You need to know that they don't have vision of you, which seems like your supports are doing an okay job of that. Ideally, we'd like to get this ward in here, but I think they catch it right away. So this is a note for the guy placing the ward. Wait till everybody's ready to, like, defend it. And you're pretty much just waiting for... I think here you just need to be really patient, and you need to wait for the right target, you know? And other than that, you're just sitting behind the guy with Aegis. Like, you don't have to commit. This guy has an Aegis, he just punches the tower, and if they kill him and take the Aegis away and he can get out, then that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this push is... You don't have to commit here. Just let this play out. Let these wards do damage. Let him tank with Aegis and BKB and all that stuff. And you just wait until they have to hard commit on him. So, like, I mean, you could have dueled the jug here, right? Probably. But you actually... What I'm saying is you don't actually have to blink in at all here.
Right.
Until
Wait it
it's
out
like...
and wait till they're fully in.
Yeah, wait till it's super good for you. Now, you do see Kunkka bottom. If you're paying attention, you notice the Kunkka bottom. So that is a good reason to jump right now. So if that's the case, then I'd be jumping on the jug here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we get it. We get
Yeah.
that. And from the rest of the game here, because we'll try and wrap it up soon here. It looks like you guys just have a lot of trouble just breaking high ground. And as one player in the game, especially at Legion, that's kind of not up to you to do anything about. So really, it's just like knowing your role of being like, okay, I'm waiting until I get the right target, and that's all I'm jumping on. I'm not jumping on anything else, right?
Yeah, and there were a couple of unfortunate times after this that I died a jug. One of them was like literally the trees by the secret shop.
Yeah,
on
I
their
saw
side.
that one. Yeah.
That one was painful because I think he dies if I was able to duel him as soon as I blinked in.
I think so too, but then I looked at it and I think he had a Lincoln's at that point, so I'm not sure.
Did he have a Lincoln's? I think he went for
We'll try and find it, because I was watching that live when that happened, and so we'll try and see, because I actually don't think you could have dueled him there. But I said the same thing while I was watching it. I'm like, just duel him, just duel him. It's like, oh, maybe you can't, you know? Oh, that's another thing, by the way, I was going to mention. So if your duel is hyper powerful in this game, don't sleep on Refresher Orb. Like, that can be...
Oh, I didn't even... Yeah.
That can be a good item, too. I mean, refreshes BKB, Blade Mail, all that stuff. You get to duel again. Now you can delete 2 people. That can be really strong.
That's fair. That's true.
And also, don't forget your Ag Scepter. So if it's one of those things where it's like, you just... The duel needs to be longer to actually kill someone, right?
Yeah.
Ag Scepter could have been a good pickup here, too. So I think instead of the Daedalus, like a Halberd, an Orchid, a Refresher, an Ag Scepter, or just Assault Cuirass and Heart of Tarask earlier, those would have been good, too.
Literally anything else.
It's not bad. It's just, you know, it's not. It doesn't solve problems. It just makes the duel a little bit faster, which is okay.
Yeah.
That can be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just a very expensive item. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For what it does.
It's only good if, you know, it gives you damage you weren't going to get otherwise. But with Legion, it's like, you know.
I'd say I would consider a Daedalus if they have like a 6k health Pudge who's popping off.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe we need a little bit more damage now. Like, my 800 base damage isn't enough anymore. Like, maybe then I would consider it, but really, otherwise, not typically necessary. It's a bit like buying a Dagon on Skywrath.
Right.
It's like, did I really need more magic damage? Probably not.
Has been killed. Dire's bottom tower
I mean,
is under
everything
attack.
can be situational. There can be times,
Yeah.
but generally we're not looking for that.
Yeah, I almost thought about buying I don't know what, my memory's so fucked today.
Oof.
Yules for his ult.
For Jugzol?
Yeah, but I was like, I'm strong. Like that feels like very defensive.
It is, yeah. It doesn't really synergize on anything either.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's... I think if I was Legion and Jug ulting me was a problem, then I would just go Lincoln's myself. Or I
Yeah.
would just get armor. Or I would actually consider an Aeon Disc. Like,
Yeah.
that's not bad either. If there's any ability that just, like, kills you if it gets cast on you, like,
Yeah.
Aeon Disc can be nice.
I also like would you go like 10 seconds back?
Sure. That's 47, 38. You're
yeah,
thinking
play
about
it,
doing this.
Yeah, pause it as literally as soon as the duel starts.
Okay. See how fast I can click this shit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So like, I think that what you said before about the combo stuff is like, I knew it before, but seeing it now, like if you look at the duration of my W and my
Yeah. Yeah. Blade Mail's
Blade
more
Mail?
than halfway over at the start of the
yeah, that's pretty major.
duel.
You know.
And that's like
Wow.
one of the hardest things about Legion, by the way, is that getting that execution, that like button mash combo correct. That's
Yeah.
one of the highest skill things about Legion. There's not really much to her, but it's like that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Especially because if you BKB first, you can't press the attack on yourself.
Right.
Which hurts. I've done
Or-
that a
or
million
blade mail.
times.
Yeah.
No, you can blade mail while you're BKB because it's not
Can you
targeted.
really?
Yeah, it's not targeted.
Oh, okay.
I think you can blade mail while you're TPing. Actually, I don't think it cancels channels or anything.
Huh.
You could look that up later, but
Yeah.
yes, I mean that is a good thing to point out. You have lost like half the stuff here, right?
Yeah.
And I think after that happened there, I would be thinking about MKB at this point.
Yeah.
Because the butterfly screwed you super hard.
Yeah. See, it was interesting because it did there, and then other times it doesn't. So I was on the fence. I thought about that, but I was on the fence about it because I was like, well, my blade mail fucks him so hard the stronger he gets.
Uh-huh.
And even though I'm missing him, when I do hit him, I'm fucking chunking him. So it was one of those things where it was like, I don't like. I mean, you know, after buying the fucking data list, it's a little funny to say, but it was like, is that really a necessary item?
Yeah. Bloodthorn also, by the way, would have solved this problem too. 'Cause it's
True Strike, yeah.
not only is it silence, good against Jug and Weaver and all that stuff, but yeah, True Strike,
Yeah.
also potential Lincoln's pop. It builds off Orchid, right? Bloodthorn would have been good.
I
Very
always,
expensive, but so is Daedalus.
you know something I always forget is the damage at the end of the duration.
That's true too, yeah. It's just a good like nuke item kind
Yeah.
of.
That could have been major. Though I think as like it stands, like how I'm already kind of like halfway done with so many things during the combo, like that's something that I think I could only do if I really practice the combo and get everything else down.
Yeah, you have a lot of buttons to press at that point,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to blink, BKB, blade mail, W, duel.
Yeah.
That's a lot of buttons to smash all at the same time. Now, by the way, you don't feel like you need to BKB every single duel.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So that's one less button you might not have to press. But yeah, it can be tough to buy a lot of active items on Legion.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But yeah, I think it's like, I guess the
It would
main,
just be
main
something,
takeaway
it's something I
is-
have to practice no matter what.
Yeah,
Like
no,
if I'm gonna
yeah.
be playing Legion, you know, just seeing those things alone, I
Mhm.
probably won't even like blade mail until I TP or yeah, until I blink in.
Yeah.
Radiant's middle
Let's
tower is under
let's
attack.
see here. Let's wrap it up because I think that's pretty much just going through these motions. Like you guys try and take mid like 8 more times and you can't get it, and they just
Yeah.
they went without you on that one, which was really silly.
Yeah.
And then you guys lose, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. What were the questions we had for this one? It was just kind of like, did we have any particular questions on this one? Oh yeah, it was just mainly like segueing and stuff like that. I think you identified all that stuff anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, lesson would be, I think the main one is, you noted it, but once you're fed off duels, like transitioning to killing higher priority stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And then the other big one was during high ground pushes, being really patient and waiting for the best dual target.
Dire
Also,
scanning.
if you guys have Aegis, like if pushing with Aegis, let the Aegis guy do all the work. Like,
Yeah.
not all the work, obviously, but really it's
Right.
it's, you know, like if you get like an Aegis on Medusa, like Medusa just walks up and hits the tower and everyone sits out of range of her. So like there's no way you're getting like Magnus ulted or anything. Like you just sit way back, let her push, right?
Right.
Same thing with this Ursa here. And then a little bit of execution stuff. So try not to waste W and blade mail duration prior to duel. So you really want to like maximize that time during the duel, right?
Yeah.
But that's just going to be a practice thing. So for that, I would say probably the best thing you can do. Well, I'll do that for homework. So go into like the demo thing and just practice the combos.
Yeah. I might also look at some pro videos and see like what the actual like sequence that they do is. Like, are they, you know, because I've seen some, I think, people who will push all their buttons and then blink in, but it'll be such a quick all together. And I have seen like they do a couple things, blink in, do blade mail, and then go duel.
Oh, try. Are we doing W first or blade mail first or BKB
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
The easiest way to answer that is look at the duration of each of the things, right?
Yeah.
So even at lowest duration, BKB lasts 6 seconds. Blade mail lasts 5.5 seconds. Press the attack lasts 5. So it's always gonna be, in that case, like you're gonna start with the longer duration first and then the shortest duration last.
Yeah.
Except it's weird with Legion because, again, you can't press the attack while you're BKB'd. So you can't do BKB blade mail, press the attack.
Yeah.
So it has to be like BKB last type of thing.
Yeah.
So it would be like blade mail, W, BKB, blink.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, practice different combos for sure. And just see what feels best. And then also, you know, BKB, not always necessary. And then I would say in this game particularly, Daedalus was a bit of a waste.
Yeah.
Could replace it with Orchid, spell properly. What was the other item we were thinking of there? Halberd. Halberd would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, these items I think would have served you a little bit better at that point. And I would probably, if I'm not seeing a Lincoln's or a Butterfly next, or already, then I would be opting for the tanky one. So I think the one I would have chosen in this game, like at the point that you were picking up the data list, I think I would have picked up the what's it called? Words Assault Cuirass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I ended up buying it next, and I'm like, I did think at that point, I was like, I could have just bought this fucking first.
Yeah. So you guys, he picks up an Eagle Song at the same time, just slightly ahead of you, which you may or may not have seen that. You can see that this guy is probably going for a Lincoln's, and so that kind of pushes you more towards like an Orchid or a Halberd. This pushes you towards MKB. This doesn't, nothing he's buying matters really. And I think it's the same on Gyro too. So really, like at this stage, I think if I hadn't seen this yet already, I would have been going Assault Cuirass. If I did see this, I would be weighing between like Halberd or MKB. And I'd probably still just go for the Halberd because it counters the Lincolns, and it's also sort of a soft counter to his Butterfly. Like if I have evasion and he has evasion, then it's kind of okay. Like I don't necessarily need to counter his evasion if I just get my own. So I think it would have been Halberd next item here, knowing these things. Otherwise, Assault Cuirass. That all makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you think any other homework would be good here, or just like go demo and like practice? I would practice like the max dual range, or blink range, sorry. Practice that. You can also practice like weird scenarios where maybe it's like hard to click on the right guy, like cluster a bunch of things together.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's basically it. But I think you identified a lot of the issues anyway.
For sure.
Refresher, that would have been another one too. Refresher, maybe.
True.
But yeah,
That's
sure.
definitely, that's a weird one that I never would have thought of, but does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, Refresher is always strong on these types of heroes. Like these types, it's kind of like heroes that it's like I bought a BKB and I'm very ult dependent.
Yeah.
Like Refresh Orb can be really nice, right? So
Yeah.
never sleep
And
on that.
yeah, a lot of people always like say that Ag seems very useless on Legion, but just reducing that cooldown honestly makes such a big difference.
Oh,
you
it does
know?
that too. Shit. So increases duration, you take less damage for other sources, and you have lower cooldown. Like, yeah, Ags would have been also a good option. You had a lot of good options here for sure. But I do think it's kind of odd because you kind of only get to pick 2 items, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're going to sell off your boots, because you need Blade Mail, you need Blink, and you need BKB. So it's kind of like pick 2. What's the most important?
Yeah.
Knowing everything I know in this game, it probably would have been like, well, Ags doesn't take a slot if it's upgraded, so probably an Ags at some point. Halberd, definitely. And then Assault Cuirass is nice, but really only Ursa can utilize that, so maybe not. So I think it would have been... I don't like the idea of going Orchid and Halberd because it's just too many buttons to frickin' press, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So probably just like Halberd and Ags, and then after that, I would probably be thinking about upgrading my Blink to like an Overwhelming Blink or an Arcane, or not Arcane, Swift Blink.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. And then also there's always Moonshard and these other Lincoln crazy items, right?
For sure.
Alright. Cool. Well, any other questions before we wrap it up? Or did we get everything?
No, I think we got everything.
Okay, man.
Despite everything, I still felt pretty good. You know, it feels like, again, a situation where it's like, even though we lost, we're like inching closer to, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Playing even better.
That was like massive improvement I was noticing in terms of just like your willingness to go for duels, like how successful a lot of the duels were, and just like you're keeping up on farm. Like you were constantly like moving around, farm. You know? And items were like, you got all the core ones, so that's a nice thing. And I think in these situations, it can be hard to identify the exact right item you need, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's like overall, compared to the previous ones, it's a massive improvement regardless. So we're going in the right direction for sure.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, let's end it there. So I'll do my YouTube extra. And then do you actually feel like playing a game together? Because I could just do some unranked or something.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Okay, for sure. Give me 1 second. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to check out the next video, like and subscribe and all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.